Going into the 2025 NFL season, the New England Patriots had one of the more intriguing wide receiving rooms in the NFL. The receiving core consisted of 6 players, with Kayshon Boutte and Pop Douglas being the only receivers returning from the year prior. Everyone else was brought in during the offseason. As Kyle Williams was drafted in the 3rd round of the 2025 draft, Efton Chism was an undrafted free agent, and Matt Collins and Stefon Diggs were signed during free agency. They had a pretty good regular season, but the Patriots changed up their receiving room this offseason. Stefon Diggs was released, Romeo Doubs was signed to a 4-year, $68 million contract, and A.J. Brown was picked up in a trade with the Eagles in exchange for a 2028 first and a 2027 5th-round pick. As of mid-June when recording this, the Patriots' receiving room is pretty crowded. Before there were any rumors of A.J. Brown being traded to the Patriots, I asked Pat's Cap, an account on social media that heavily monitors the Patriots' salary cap and financials, if there was any chance the Patriots would be able to re-sign both Kayshon Boutte and Pop Douglas in 2027. Boutte and Pop were drafted in the 6th round of the 2023 NFL Draft, and both have panned out better than most people anticipated. At this time, both their rookie deals were set to expire after the 2026 season. From what I had seen, I figured both players would be in the team's long-term plans. That's why I was kind of surprised by their answer, which was that they doubt Pop Douglas will be on the roster come week 1 this season. And really quick, just because the post refers to him as Demario Douglas, Demario is his government name. His nickname is Pop, and he prefers to go by Pop, so that's what I'm going to call him. On top of the unexpected answer from Pat's Cap, someone replied to me saying that Boutte and Pop didn't make equal contributions in 2025. I pushed back a bit since Boutte is an outside receiver and Pop is a slot receiver. They have different roles in the offense, so I'm not expecting them to have the same stats. And the person simply replied, Boutte played, Pop didn't. Which, okay, sure. You didn't hear the play-by-play guy saying Pop's name all that often in 2025, while Boutte was having a huge season of his own. I can kind of see where they're coming from though, since it does look like Pop regressed if you compare some of his stats from 2024 and 2025. And let's go ahead and take a look at some of those really quick. In 2024, Pop was targeted 87 times and had 66 receptions for 621 yards and 3 touchdowns. In 2025, he was targeted 46 times and had 31 receptions for 447 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's not good, but there is a bit of an explanation for this under the surface. In 2024, Pop ran 443 routes, which was the 3rd most on the team. In 2025, Pop ran only 221 routes, which was the 5th most on the team. I don't view this as an indictment on Pop, since he had the most receiving yards of any wide receiver on the Patriots roster in his first 2 seasons, and the receiving room got a lot more crowded in 2025 with the additions of Matt Collins and Stefon Diggs. Plus, this was Josh McDaniels' first season back as offensive coordinator for the Patriots since 2021, so they're not going to have the same game plan they did last season. Still, I was surprised to see such a negative sentiment around Pop Douglas, but maybe there's something the people that I interacted with know about him that I don't. So I decided to go back and watch every single one of Pop's snaps from this last season to see what was up. I know there's a few of you shaking your head right now saying, it's not that deep, get off social media, go touch grass, but this is an excellent excuse to watch some game film and break it down, so I'm going to do that. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some of that film from this past season to see if he wasn't playing well, and that's why he had his snap count cut in half, and to get an idea to see if the Patriots should extend his contract or not. And the first thing that I want to go over is his release. Having a release that gets the receiver out of their initial stance quickly, while also getting the defender out of position, is a huge part of winning the route overall. For example, on this 3rd and short from the AFC Championship game against Denver, Pop is running an out route with the defender squared up against him. He does something like a foot-fire release and is able to close in quickly on the defender while firing his hands to make sure he doesn't get jammed. The defender tries to keep a little space and takes a few steps back, but he moves inside ever so slightly. Pop then takes a wide step inside, and he does a head fake to the left. This fools the defender and gets him to commit to protecting the inside, which allows Pop to win outside. The defender panics and tries to get a hand on Pop to disrupt the route, but Pop doesn't let him, and he's able to quickly cut outside and create separation to get wide open. If May doesn't force this throw to Diggs and throws to Pop instead, this is probably a first down. The next example I want to go over comes from the wildcard game against the Chargers. Pop is running a deep dig, but the defender's outside shoulder is lined up with Pop's inside shoulder, which means the defender is lined up on an inside shade. This makes it easier for the defender to prevent Pop from getting inside on his dig route. To counter this, Pop takes one step and then does a skip step into a split release. This allows him to square up his frame with the defenders and also closes the gap between them. This gets the defender to hesitate a little bit. Then, Pop fires his hands and takes a wide step outside, which causes the defender to bite and step outside himself. From there, Pop is able to work his way inside and is off to the races, leaving the defender in the dust. His agility and footwork on his release allows him to win off the snap, but that's only part of the battle. So let's talk about his fakeouts at the top of his route. A big piece of creating separation comes from being able to deceive the defender into making them think that the receiver is breaking one way, only for the receiver to break the other way. In this play from the divisional round of the playoffs against Houston, Pop is running an out route, but the defender is lined up with an outside shade, meaning that Pop will need to find some way to get the defender out of position so he can get outside. After the snap, the defender turns his hips to face inside, which gives him better leverage to protect the outside. However, Pop does a head and shoulder fake inside, getting the defender out of position. At the same time, Pop slams down his left foot as he breaks, which creates power for him to get outside without losing speed. Even though the defender is able to recover, Pop has a few yards of separation by the time the defender gets his hips flipped in the other direction. Unfortunately for Pop, this play was over fairly quickly as May threw to Diggs in the end zone and he somehow makes that catch. Had the play not ended as quickly though, I'm pretty confident Pop would have been open in the end zone. The Texans are playing cover one man here, and since Booty is running a fade route, he's going to take that defender with him to the back pylon, which is going to create a ton of space for Pop underneath. Assuming that May throws to Pop instead, that's likely his second touchdown on the day. This next clip is from the wildcard game against the Chargers again. It's 1st and 10 with 31 seconds left in the first half. Pop is running a comeback route, but the corner has his hips angled just slightly towards the middle of the field, indicating he's trying to take away the sideline, which is the opposite of what Pop wants. He starts off his route by running at an outside angle and fakes cutting outside, which causes the defender to rotate his hips a little bit so they're parallel to the line of scrimmage. Pop follows up by cutting upfield and closing in on the defender. This makes the defender think that Pop is going to cut inside, so Pop does a head nod inside while slamming his right foot to sell the fake. The defender falls for it, takes a huge step inside, and basically moves right out of Pop's way for him. Pop slips past him and continues upfield at an outside angle like he's trying to run a corner, and then slams the brakes and comes back underneath. Dante Johnson isn't a bad corner, but Pop absolutely bullies him here. He uses some filthy moves to create separation and is open on the sideline about 5 yards past the line to gain. This is exactly what you want when you have 30 seconds left in the half of a playoff game and you need to make something happen. There is another piece to route running that comes after creating separation, and sometimes before that, but it involves bending the route into open space. Bending routes is an important facet of route running since it helps ensure defenders won't disrupt the catch or undercut the route. At the same time, getting into open space creates an opportunity to make a play after the catch. On this play from week 13, Pop is running an in route that's about 10 yards deep. He knows that if he runs this route exactly like how it's drawn up, he'll probably have a tough time getting inside at the top of his route because of where the defender is positioned. So he runs at a bit of an inside angle to get between the defenders and then breaks inside. Instead of running parallel to the line of scrimmage in a straight line, he comes back underneath a bit into that open space. By doing that, the defender cannot undercut the route, and Pop gets as much space as he can between that defender and the deep safety. After the catch, he's able to pick up about 5 extra yards. It was a nice heads-up play from Pop that helped the Patriots gain about 15 yards in total, thanks to his route running. Fast forwarding to the Super Bowl, it's 2nd and 10 in the fourth quarter, and we see something similar from Pop. He starts running off at an inside angle, and he recognizes where there's going to be open space. Once he breaks inside, he bends the route underneath and keeps as much space as he can between himself and the defenders, so 21 wouldn't be able to undercut the throw here. May doesn't target Pop here, and if he does, I don't think Pop is picking up all that many yards after the catch. But he's doing exactly what a receiver should do, finding those open spaces and creating opportunities for chunk plays to try and turn this into a 3rd and manageable. And speaking of picking up yards after the catch, let's go ahead and see what he does when he gets that opportunity. Because slot receivers typically work the middle of the field and run shorter routes than outside receivers do, they need to be able to make some big plays after the catch, and Pop is certainly capable of it. The first example I want to go over of this comes from week 18 against the Dolphins on a 3rd and 9 with 2 minutes left in the game. Pop motions in and pretty much stays put on a smoke route so Dobbs can get him the ball quickly. After the catch, he has a real nice cut inside, gets some big blocks downfield, and even dives forward for good measure. He's able to pick up 20 yards after the catch for a big gain. Going to the end zone view, we see just how much agility Pop has. As he comes to a stop, he's able to get out of there so quickly because when he starts to flip his hips inside, he hops away from the defender at the same time. By the time his feet hit the ground, he's out of the defender's reach and his frame is aligned with the open gap, which puts him in the perfect spot to keep the play alive and work his way downfield. He does a great job navigating the open space his blockers are creating for him, and he gets the first down and more. I know at this point in the game it's garbage time, but these are some really impressive mechanics from Pop. In this next play, coming from Week 9 against the Falcons, we're just going to be looking at the end zone view. Pop is able to get wide open on a deep dig route, and once he gets the ball, he finds himself in a bit of a similar situation to the play we just watched. Because Pop stumbles here, that causes number 3 on the defense to come to a quick stop so he can adjust. But Pop is somehow able to sharply turn inside and barely gets past the defender. Then he has a real nice cut to stay on his feet, but he stumbles again after he looks behind him and turns his head back around real quick. Pop almost gets a bit more downfield, but the defender he was able to shake off is able to grab onto him, capping his yards after the catch to 30 this time. The only issue Pop really has after the catch is that he slips a lot on the run. To show you what I mean, let's look at this play from the Super Bowl. Pop does a great job avoiding the incoming defender and going from inside to outside. However, as he starts to cut back inside, he loses his footing, though he is able to sneak in some extra yards by diving forward. Taking a look at the sideline view of this play, it's clear he wasn't going to get very far, even if he doesn't lose his footing. But when Pop is able to keep his balance and stay on his feet, he's extremely dangerous. Like in this play from Week 6 against the Saints, which was called back because of a penalty, but the only time he slips here is when he's slipping past the defense. He's wide open due to the blown coverage, but he makes the most of this gift given to him by the defense. He evades this first defender with a creative spin move, then he gets the defender to hesitate with a fake outside, and with the help of Stevenson's presence slowing down some defenders, he's able to take it to the house. Unfortunately for him, it was called back, but this was still a great play on his part. I can't say for certain why Pop has a tendency to slip. Maybe it's a balance issue like we saw from that play against the Falcons, or it's some sort of equipment issue, maybe a D lineman is throwing a blue shell from the line of scrimmage, I don't know. It's probably a balance issue, but regardless of that, the film shows that Pop is a great route runner and is an explosive threat after the catch when he's able to stay on his feet. But there is an area he's particularly weak in, which is his run blocking. If there's one area Pop could definitely make some improvements in, it's run blocking. In this play coming from Week 13 against the Giants, Pop motions from the strong side to the weak side of the formation. His job on this play is to pick up whichever pass rusher is trying to come through the C gap. The problem is, he kinda hop steps forward towards the defender and doesn't work his way inside until his left foot lands. By that point, the defender's shoulders are nearly perpendicular to Pop's frame, and while Pop does hit the defender to try and knock him off balance, the defender has so much leverage towards him that he's able to easily shrug Pop off and tackle Henderson for a loss. To be fair, maybe this play does call for Pop to try and sell his route initially at the snap. We don't know, since we don't have the play call and we don't have the playbook, so we don't have a clear picture of what was supposed to happen. But Pop's run blocking issues were consistent throughout the season. The next example I have comes from the conference championship. When Pop engages with this defender on the run block, his left hand grabs the defender's shoulder pad outside of the defender's frame. Then, he tries pushing the defender up and inside, despite not really having the leverage to do so. So the defender is able to use that momentum to his advantage and throw Pop out of the way to help tackle Stevenson. Stevenson is running to the outside, so I get why Pop is trying to drive the defender towards the middle of the field, but he never really is able to get both hands inside the defender's frame. Instead of trying to push the defender towards the middle of the field, Pop probably should have just pushed the defender upfield to the best of his ability. Granted, there is a defender on Stevenson, so he probably wasn't getting far, but if Pop is able to stay on the defender and drive him downfield, Stevenson maybe gets an extra yard or two on the play, maybe more. The last example that I want to go over comes from Week 7 against the Titans. Pop's blocking assignment is somewhere in the second level of the defense, but the issue comes when he reaches that second level. He starts off running inside, but he makes his frame parallel to the line of scrimmage and does a little skip step. If he was going to block 18 instead of the deep safety, this would make sense since he needs to flip his hips outside. But he eventually tries to get back inside to block the deep safety, which doesn't go well. Again, we don't have the playbook, so it is possible this is some sort of option block where he'll block whichever defender makes the most sense, but the issue I have is with how he gets to that second level, specifically with the skip step. Right as he's about to do that skip step, the safety does an excellent job reading the play and cuts inside. By the time the defender is inside the hash marks, he's in a great position to get past Pop, since, as we can see here, Pop has to cut very hard inside to get to the safety coming down. and he can't get in front of the defender to run block properly. When Pop is able to engage with the defender, he practically bounces off of him and can't get him out of Stevenson's way. Now, this was a positive play, and the Patriots got a first down, but this was mainly due to Stevenson's second effort and a few teammates helping push the pile forward. The two issues I have with Pop's run blocking is that he often struggles to get his hands inside the defender's frame, and that he skips steps before engaging with the defender. These are things that can be cleaned up, and to be fair to Pop, there are run blocks that he wins. However, his run blocking is easily the weakest part of his game, and it's where he needs to make the most improvements, in my opinion. From what the film shows us, Pop has a great release, he's able to create separation, he finds open space, and he's an explosive threat after the catch. So why aren't his stats better? The simple answer to that is that he wasn't a centerpiece of the offense this past season. With the offseason addition of Stephon Diggs, Pop's role in the offense was downgraded, as we saw with the snap count stats back in the beginning of the video. This is evident in the game film too. In this play from Week 5 against the Bills defense is in a split coverage with zone on the strong side of the play and man coverage on the weak side of the play. Pop is running a flat from the slot, and he's open due to the man coverage on Booty and the defender giving Pop a huge cushion. This essentially gives Pop one man to beat, but May never looks at Pop's side of the field. This is just because of how the play is set up. It's a play featuring a quick throw with May taking a 3-step drop, so if his first read is open, he's going to get the ball out to them quickly. In this next one from Week 16 against the Ravens, Pop is running a deep dig and is wide open, but May instead makes an inadvertent hospital pass to Diggs, who is running a route that mirrors the one Pop is running. I don't blame May for trying to get the ball to Diggs and prioritizing him over Pop. Diggs was the clear wide receiver 1 for the Patriots in 2025, and he surpassed a lot of people's expectations, but I think Pop was the better target on this play. If we assume Diggs doesn't get rocked on this play and he has a chance to pick up some yards after the catch, he has 2 defenders downfield to worry about, with one trailing him. Pop only has 1 deep safety to beat, so he's got a better chance of making something happen after the catch, simply from a numbers perspective. But aside from the fact that Diggs was the top wide receiver for the Patriots, it's possible that May had trust issues with Pop. He could have been worried about Pop slipping after making the catch, but I'm not sure how much I buy into that, since May did trust Pop on this 4th and 1 in the playoffs with rainy conditions. Now, all that being said, Pop isn't a bad receiver by any means. However, if the Patriots do decide to move on from Pop either this offseason or in 2027, it's not unreasonable to think that the Patriots will roll with the next slot receiver in the depth chart. Sure, they could draft, trade for, or sign a slot receiver during free agency, but let's assume they go with the next man up. Remember that question I asked to Pat's Cap? I didn't read the whole thing out loud earlier, but my post also does say, unless the plan is to extend Booty and have Chism take that slot role. I said his name early in the video, but you probably don't know who he is, so I'll quickly introduce him to you. The slot receiver up next in the depth chart is Efton Chism III, an undrafted free agent out of Eastern Washington University. That school just so happens to be the same one Cooper Kupp played at before being drafted to the NFL. In 2024, Chism broke Kupp's single-season reception record of 117 catches with 120 of his own. Chism turned heads during OTAs and preseason in 2025, and then he was signed to a 3-year, $2.9 million deal. In my opinion, this was an excellent move by the Patriots, and I think the film backs that up. So let's start with an area that Pop was weak in: run blocking. The first example I want to show comes from Week 17 against the Jets. Chism's blocking assignment here is the slot corner. The Patriots are running an ISO through the B gap, and with how the corner has his hips angled and is positioned relative to Chism, the corner has an advantage over Chism on this play, since he can quickly get inside, blow right past Chism, and attack the ball carrier. Once the ball is snapped, the defender does take a step outside, but Chism wastes 0 time getting inside, squaring up with the defender, and getting his hands inside the defender's frame. He also keeps himself angled outside to make it as difficult as possible for the defender to break through. He does fall over a defender, but he did exactly what he was supposed to do on this play. This next one comes from Week 18 against the Dolphins. May is going to fake the handoff to Henderson, and then hand it off to Williams on the end around. So Chism needs to prevent the defender from getting outside. Chism was already angled inside ever so slightly, but off the snap, he's able to get his frame at an angle that puts him in a great position to block for Williams. By the time the defender sees what's going on, Chism is engaging, gets a hand inside the defender's frame, and continues to work to get both hands inside. As the play develops, Chism is able to stay with the defender and keeps fighting to get his hands inside to win the block. Chism didn't see Henry lose his block, which forced Williams to try and cut inside, but Chism stayed with the defender, kept trying to get his hands inside, and didn't give up any ground. Had Henry won his block, Williams would have been able to stay outside, and probably gets a huge gain on this run. The last example I want to show comes from the wildcard game against the Chargers. There's 1:51 left in the fourth quarter, and it's 2nd and 9. If the Patriots get a first down, this game is over. Chism's job on this play is to get to the second level and block any defenders coming from the weak side of the play. As he engages Derwin James Jr. on the run block, his frame is parallel to Henderson's running lane, which puts him in a great position to keep that running lane clear. He's able to get his hands inside James's frame, and even though James pops him to break free just a little bit, Chism stands his ground and keeps up with James despite getting stiff-armed. Henderson gets tackled, but it's way past the first down marker, and the Patriots are able to seal the win. Odds are the Patriots would have won the game at this point anyway, but if Chism doesn't pick up this block, the game likely isn't over, and the Patriots would be facing a 3rd and short. Chism's run blocking skills present an interesting opportunity. If defenses see him trying to engage in a run block or going to the second level on a run play, they've got no reason to think that isn't what he's doing. This makes him a great weapon for trick plays and deceiving the opposing defense. To show you what I mean, let's take a look at this play from Week 18 against the Dolphins. Chism is running as if he's going to run block, and there's no reason for the defense to view this with suspicion, since Chism runs right at defenders before engaging them in a run block. And this defender even puts up a hand to prevent Chism from getting in front of him. However, with some nice timing, Chism cuts upfield as soon as Henderson tosses the ball back to May on the flea flicker. If we go to the sideline view, we see 26 on the defense not really reacting to Chism running past him, which to me is because there is a deep safety in the middle of the field, so he probably thinks that Chism is going to engage that deep safety. By the time the defense realizes what's going on, it's too late, as Chism is wide-ass open for a huge gain. If Chism didn't have that ability to run block, or have that motor that has him hauling it to the second level on run plays, the Dolphins' defense possibly sniffs this one out, and the Patriots don't get very far. This one isn't a trick play, but play actions do require deception among many other things in order for them to work. Chism is running an out route, so he needs to beat this defender outside while also selling the run block. At the snap, Chism runs inside a little bit as if he's going to run block, but once the defender gets hands on him, Chism knows that he's able to beat him on the route. He's able to brush off the defender, and once he's past him, he turns on the afterburners to get a few steps on him in the end zone. May sees him open and hits him for 6 points. Going back to trick plays for a second, Chism has another skill that makes him a great guy to have on the field for trick plays. As Chism put it himself, he played a little quarterback in high school. You've probably already seen this play from that Patriots-Chargers playoff game. May hands the ball off to Stevenson, who pitches it to Chism on the end around. Chism makes the throw on the run, and the ball does go over May's outreached arm, but this one isn't on Chism. May is working his way outside, but the problem is right as Chism releases the ball, May stops. It looks like Chism threw this thinking that May would continue working his way towards the boundary, and had May done that, this likely is a catch and a big gain. It's possible the play design has May stopping, and this was a bad pass from Chism, but when Josh McDaniels ran this sort of play in the past with Brady, and this one looks pretty similar to the failed trick play from Super Bowl 52, Brady never slowed up when he was running downfield. Because of that, I'm scoring this as an error on May. One other thing I want to bring attention to on this play real quick is how Chism does a nice job adjusting to catch Stevenson's pitch, and he gets himself in a position to make the throw in the first place. Now, run blocking and trick play utilization aside, I'm sure you're wondering how he is as a receiver, and we're going to go over some of that film. But I do want to give a heads up that Chism does not have a lot of tape. He ran only 34 routes throughout the whole season, with just 10 of those being in plays where he lined up in the slot. So I can't give an exact one-to-one comparison between Pop and Chism in terms of being a slot receiver, but let's take what we have and take a look at Chism's route running. The first example of Chism's route running that I want to go over comes from Week 17 against the Jets with 1:25 left on the clock in the first half. Chism is running a post here, so he needs to make sure he wins inside. After Chism wins off the snap and just before the top of his route, he stems the route a little bit by running at an outside angle and then fakes cutting outside before going back inside on the post. He's able to make the defender take a step outside, which creates that little bit of space that Chism needed to get separation on the play. Despite him getting a few steps on that defender, I wouldn't call him open due to the deep safety and the middle of the field getting crowded very quickly. Regardless, Chism was able to create some separation because of his route running. Coming from the same game, this play has Chism running a simple go route. The defender backs off and gives him a small cushion, while showing that he's trying to take away anything outside. Chism uses this to his advantage. as he runs at just a slight outside angle towards the defender off the snap. The defender stays with him, trying to take away the outside. Chism does a quick head nod outside, which breaks the defender's ankles. Then he starts running slightly inside as he moves downfield to create more space. He's got a few steps on the defender, but the deep safety probably picks him up here if May holds onto the ball for just a little longer, and gets the throw off to Chism. I know there's a few of you saying that this tape is against the Jets, who did not have a single interception in 2025, which is the only time in NFL history that's ever happened, so who cares how Chism looks against this defense? And I get that, but these techniques of stemming routes and using the defender's leverage against them is one of the things that sets great receivers apart from everyone else, and it's something to keep an eye on while watching Chism's development. This last one comes from Week 18 against the Dolphins, just outside of the 2-minute warning in the fourth. Chism is running a deep out route here, so he needs to find a way to beat the defender outside. He begins his route by running at an inside angle, as if he's running a slant or something like that, and the defender reacts to this by coming down underneath just a little bit, only for Chism to cut upfield. He's able to rapidly close the gap between the defender, leaving the defender with less time to react to Chism's movements. As the defender starts to move downfield himself, he changes the orientation of his hips so that he's perpendicular to the line of scrimmage for a moment, which makes it a lot harder for him to protect the outside. When Chism cuts outside, the defender will have to turn around one way or another to try and cover him. Plus, the defender is moving downfield, so he's going to have to shift that momentum to get underneath as well, which adds another layer of difficulty to defending Chism in this spot. Chism sees this and fakes cutting inside for good measure before cutting outside and getting open. Dobbs doesn't target Chism here, but if he did, this is probably a first down. Chism shows flashes with his route running, but the thing that stands out to me the most when I watch Chism's film is that he's just got that dog in him. I'm going to give the disclaimer here that I'm going to show some preseason tape. Yes, I understand it's preseason and Chism is going up against second and third stringers, but he looks like a man amongst boys out there, and I think it's worth showing. Like, take this play from a preseason game against the Vikings. Chism gets wide open on this play because the in route he's running is underneath the two in routes coming from the strong side of the formation, which naturally separates him from the defender. Once he gets the ball, he does a great job coming to a stop while jumping to try and avoid the defender's outreached arms. As he's coming back down, he gives the other defender a stiff arm to get him out of the way. Then he slips past another defender and dives toward the end zone as two other defenders try to take him down. This does come with the caveat that he got a real clutch block, and number 37 on the defense probably should have gone around instead of trying to go after Chism directly. Regardless, this was an incredible effort and it resulted in the touchdown. It's worth noting this was the last live snap he saw during preseason, and it wouldn't surprise me if this play is what clinched him a spot on the roster. In this next play, going back to Week 17 against the Jets, Chism is run blocking and gets absolutely popped by the defender, but he's able to hang on and stay engaged in the block. He does fall, and you'll see why in a moment, but he gets right back up, hauls it to catch up to the pile, and helps push it forward. Going to the end zone view, we can see that he got his leg locked up with another defender's and tripped because of it. Even though he got knocked down, he wastes zero time getting back up on his feet and getting back in the play. I'm just going to have some film playing in the background since there isn't much to break down on these plays, but the point I'm trying to make is that 19 times out of 20, Chism keeps his foot slammed on the pedal and doesn't let off until he hears the whistle. Being an undrafted free agent, you have to play with that kind of motor on every single snap if you want to make it onto the final 53-man roster. You've got a much shorter leash than someone who was selected on day 1 or 2 of the draft, so you got to make the most of every opportunity you get and leave it all out there on the field. And that's exactly what Chism has done. Plus, after every catch of his, he's always super hyped, and I can't blame him one bit. That's the kind of energy you want in a physical, scrappy slot receiver. The biggest criticism I have with Chism is his release. He isn't necessarily doing anything wrong, but he doesn't have many releases in his repertoire, which makes it easier for defenders to know what he's going to do and how to counter him at the line. Here, Chism is lined up on the outside, and the corner is lined up on an inside shade, so he's trying to take away the inside from Chism. Chism crosses his right leg over behind him, pushes off that back foot into a split release while firing his hands. He also gets his frame squared with the defenders, who commits to his coverage assignment by taking that small step and slightly turning his hips outside. Once Chism's feet hit the grass, he's able to take off down the sideline. He doesn't shake the defender, but I don't think that was the exact goal of this route since he turns his head back to look at May. To me, it looks like if he was getting the ball, it would be some sort of back shoulder throw or something like that, but still. He was able to get outside without too much interference from the defender. Later in the same quarter, we see pretty much the same thing. Chism lines up outside against the same corner, who is aligned on that inside shade. Chism crosses his right leg over and pushes off into a split release again. but this time the corner is ready for it. He doesn't take any steps inside, and he doesn't really turn his hips to the outside either. He keeps his shoulders squared to Chism and does a pretty good job jamming him so he can't do anything on this play. Those two plays were when he was trying to get outside, so let's take a look at a couple plays where he tries to get inside. This comes from inside the 2-minute warning. Pre-snap, it looks like the same thing. Instead of crossing his leg over and going into a split release, he immediately gets squared up with the defender and takes a wide step outside. This does get the defender to take a step outside since he needs to protect the boundary. This allows Chism to win inside and run his dig route without any disruption. There is a small catch to this. The Jets are playing cover 2, and the corner's job is to prevent anyone from getting outside. He's not super worried about Chism breaking inside since he's trying to funnel Chism towards the deep safety, but it was a nice release by Chism to get the defender to show his coverage assignment. However, on this one later in the same drive, Chism is up against man coverage. He does the same release, getting his shoulders squared, and he takes that wide step outside. The corner does take an outside step again, but not as big of a step as before. He knows what Chism is doing, but he can't jam Chism here like earlier because Chism doesn't take that skip step to close in on the defender. Instead, he takes that wide step outside, and he's getting as far inside as he can before cutting upfield so the defender can't disrupt his route too much. As Chism runs upfield, he's going inside ever so slightly to keep some space and to make sure the defender doesn't get too physical with him so he can have a clean break on the dig route. Although an elite corner is probably shutting this down. As for Chism's repetitive, predictable releases, he obviously needs to mix it up a bit to keep defenders on their toes. To be fair to Chism, he only ran 34 routes this past season, and not a ton of those were up against man coverage. The only games he saw a decent amount of snaps as a receiver in were weeks 17 and 18, so it's not like he's running 20 plus routes a game for 17 games, and we get plenty of chances to see his full arsenal. It's possible he has more releases up his sleeve, but he never really got a chance to show them off. Plus, since he isn't getting a ton of live snaps as a receiver, he doesn't have a huge opportunity to make week-to-week adjustments to his releases. Now that we've gone through the film of the Patriots' 2 slot receivers and have an idea of who they are on the field, we can try and answer the question of if the Patriots should extend Pop's contract or not. Personally, I would have extended Pop's contract yesterday. However, this comes with the caveat that I would also find a way to make him more of a focus in the game plan. I wouldn't have him running in the flat as often, and I would have him be in May's first set of reads constantly. I'm not the only one with this view either. Back in late March at the annual NFL owners meeting, Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel told reporters, "I think Pop is a player that's really going to continue to grow and develop, and we have to find ways to get him the ball." And there's a good reason why they feel they need to get Pop the ball. A Super Bowl 60 film breakdown, which I highly recommend checking out on Patriots.com, has an excerpt that says, "Douglas had several opportunities for big plays, but the Patriots struggled to get him the ball. Pop was the Patriots' most consistent separator and might have had a big game had May and the protection fared better." I'll play some of that film for you right now in the background so you can see what they're talking about. In fact, if you're a Patriots fan and you still have a negative opinion of Pop, I highly recommend going back to watch that tape from Super Bowl 60, because I guarantee you're going to be like, stop it, please, I beg you! And you'll see my point. But like I said, I would only extend him if he'll play a more significant role in the offense. If not, then I don't really see a point in paying him to keep him around. The elephant in the room is that as of mid-June when I'm recording this, if you exclude the undrafted free agents and practice squad guys, the Patriots have 7 receivers under contract, with 3 of them on the last year of their contract this season. The Patriots could be running consistently out of 11 personnel, which is 1 running back, 1 tight end, and 3 wide receivers, in case you don't know, but 7 receivers is still a lot of receivers to have. And considering the fact that the Patriots will need to sign other players, like Christian Gonzalez, you're going to have to at least let one of those guys go. Unfortunately, Booty sticks out because he's an outside receiver, and with both Romeo Doubs and A.J. Brown signed through 2029, I'm not sure what kind of role he can play in the offense long term. Plus, rumors have been floating around that he could be someone who gets traded by the Patriots. Granted, a lot of those trade rumors were from before the A.J. Brown trade went through, but he is the odd man out. Even though the Patriots have an excellent young slot receiver they can fall back on if they move on from Pop, I think they should at least wait until after this season to do so. It's the best move financially, and I feel Chism needs another season of development before he can take that starter role. And even then, I would still try to find a way to have both Pop and Chism on the Patriots roster, since I think they can both make meaningful contributions. Should the Patriots move on from Pop though, he'll get a giant bag of cash from another team, and I think he'll find success in the NFL one way or another. Although, I could be wrong. After all, there's a reason I work in IT, and I'm not standing on the sidelines on game day.